this is a place where this kind of conversation could be really fruitful for everyone involved. So I'm going to ask Minister Phyllis to speak first, and I feel so blessed that she made her way here. We talked last night by Zoom conference and decided she was going to and here she is.
Okay. Thank you so much, Lisa. Welcome all to Safe Haven. Yay. Welcome. And we're so grateful for Lisa for her sponsoring this holy conversations, because truly it's needed. I mean, like she said, with so many of us in different parts doing different things in activism, it's important that we come together. So I'm grateful that she asked me to speak on reparations. Now, so far in this country, it's a divide between how many people think we should have reparations and how many people think we shouldn't have reparations. Approximately 22% of white people feel that we shouldn't have reparations, and about 75 to 80% of black people feel that we should. So we have a long way to go. I feel that I have a lot of work to do. And the organization that I work with, American Descendants of Slavery, we have to really get the word out more. But first of all, what is reparation? Reparations is the making of amends for a wrong one has done by paying money or otherwise helping those who were harmed. That's reparations. So I know most of you, how many of you have heard of reparations in this room? So it's not new to any of you, right? Especially you're into different parts of activism with the environment, so I know you've heard about reparations. Now, I'm just going to read something that Brian Allen, he's an African-American billionaire, and he stated this in one of his interviews that he was doing, and he said that he wanted to look through the eyes of Coretta Scott King so that he could understand Dr. King a little better. Because he said if there was anyone that really knew who Dr. King was, it's his wife. So he contacted her on several occasions, and he contacted her also because he wanted to buy the rights to her story, her life story. So he said it took him several years before she consented to let him write her story. And as he spoke with her, he said one day he spoke to her and she told him, she said, they did not kill Martin because of his I have a dream speech. She said the reason why they killed him was because of his speech where he said that there was two Americas. Is anybody familiar with that speech? Two separate Americas? And as she continued to talk to Brian Allen, she also told him that as black people, we have four major challenges. The first challenge, she said, was to end slavery, which ended in 1865. But we know that a form of slavery still exists, and that's mass incarceration. Because when we say mass incarceration, we know that the Constitution, the 13th Amendment says, the 13th Amendment abolished slavery, nor involuntary servitude, except as punishment for a crime. So right after 1865, what happened? They put the black codes in place, Jim Crow in place, so they arrest people for small offenses. So that's another form of mass incarceration. That's another form of slavery. Today, we have mass incarceration. From the criminal bill, I think it was 1985, right? When they passed the Criminal Act bill, and I think it passed the bill. He was the one that, he helped. Yeah, he was right. Okay? So, now, getting back to this. She said that it's 4 things that black people, we have 4 major challenges. So, end of slavery, that's one. But thank God we don't have the slavery like we had before, right? That was terrible. We still have challenges. The second one, she said, was to end Jim Crow. And the third, achieve civil rights. And the fourth, she said, the reason why they killed Dr. King was for economic inclusion. Economic inclusion. And that's where reparations comes in. We are now talking about economic inclusion. When we see the statistics of African Americans in this country, they have the highest unemployment rate, they have the highest incarceration rate, they have the highest infant mortality. If you can name something that's bad, usually African Americans have the highest rate of that. So you may ask yourself, well, why is that? Why can't they do like other people when they come to this country and pull themselves up by their own bootstraps? Why can't they work hard? Why are they behind? But if you look at the history of the African American, if you look at the things that came up against us from the time that we were in slavery to the time of Jim Crow, to the time of mass incarceration, to the time of discrimination, housing discrimination, all types of economic discriminations, white supremacy, privilege. When you look at how we were kept out of so many things that were given to white people, then you can see why we're behind. If you're running in a race, and the person next to you tell them to go, you know what I'm going to let you do? I'm going to let you go 2 miles, and then I'll run after you and see if I can pass you. We're talking about 400 years. And when you look at it, and when you look at the timeline, and you can say, well, slavery ended in 1865, so what happened? Look, we had from 1619 to 1865, we had 240 years of slavery. And from 1865 to 1964, you had 99 years of Jim Crow. So we're speaking about, if we started really from just about 1964, that's only about how many years? Maybe, what, 55? 55 years. So to say, oh, slavery ended in 1865, 246 years ago, why do we have to think about reparations? Because the debt is old. This country was built off of the free labor of slaves for 246 years. This country, when you look at the income gap between whites and blacks, you can see that most white people, and I don't have nothing against white people, I'm just talking the truth, right? Because we love each other, that's why we're here, right? You know, we're working together. Most white people had some type of inheritance, whether it was something your mother left you or your father left you or a house that was left or something. And if they didn't have inheritance, they have more opportunities. You can have a black person and a white person with the same degrees, same type of experience. And that white person could go in that office and give them their credentials and get that job. No, first let me let the black person go in, right? The black person go in there, same degrees, same everything. Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, wait, call you. White person come in. Oh, sure, we got that position open. Now think about this happening year after year after year after year after year. Think about it, and it's still happening today. And not only that, but then inequality gap is reparations. Now, reparations could be in the form of not just one check, but checks. It can also be in the form of policies. It could be in the form of programs. But it has to be specifically for ADOS. And somebody else might ask, well, why just y'all? I mean, you got other people that need things, but we're the only group of folks that came to this country enslaved. Okay? We didn't come here voluntarily. We were enslaved. And we are the group that's looked down upon more than any other group. Let's be real. If you came here doing immigration and doing Polish or Jewish or Irish, at first they might have gave you some problems. Oh, you know, Irish need to apply. But soon you were able to become part of the white society. Soon you will be able to blend in with them, right? But not us. We are still, after 400 years, looked down upon. So we're saying, we don't mind supporting other people. But now, this new ADOS movement, the American Descendants of Slavery, and it started about 2 years ago. The founders, Yvette Carnell and Antonio Moore, he's an attorney. And they started the process, the movement. And we had our first conference in October. We had about 2,000 people. And what we're saying, we love, Democratic Party is fine. You know that African Americans, we support the Democratic Party. We've been supporting for years. But now what we're saying, we're not going to be concerned about that. Of course, everybody's saying, get rid of Trump. But you know what we're saying now today? We want a commitment. Whoever we vote for, they're going to have a commitment to help our people. Because we're on standing on a cliff. And we're about to fall over. It's that bad. It's that bad. And we're looking for allies. If anyone want to help us to get the word out, we've been doing a campaign online. We've spoken to different politicians. And you might have heard some on the debate when they talked about reparations. But we're saying no agenda for ADOS. That's what we're talking about. Then no vote. That's what we're telling them. And we're serious. We are serious. Because it doesn't always matter who's in office. We've been getting the same deal, whoever's in office. We never get anything. Not specifically for us. That's going to pull us up. So, I'm saying on the camera, what ADOS is saying, American Descendant of Slavery, no black agenda for ADOS, no vote. Now, we're going to the polls, but we may not vote for a particular person if they don't have an agenda for us. So, I have more to say, but I'm stopping now. Can I just say one thing that Dr. King said? Okay? Yeah. I'm going to read that, and then I'll be finished. Oh, good. Ooh. This is Deacon Court. He just said something up to me that said the Princeton Theological Seminary is pledging to spend nearly $28 million on reparations over its ties to slavery. Yeah. And before I finish, I also just want to say that we have the ADOS. If you go to the website, ADOS 101, they have their agenda on there, and you can see all of the data. We're not just talking just to be talking. Here's the data right here. Median household net worth by race and education. So we said it's not just by education. You can be educated and still not have the same privileges. Okay, post-college. A white person that have a post-college degree they would have their median household income is $455,213. The black with a post-college degree is $141,000. With just a college degree, a white person's median household net worth is $268,000. A black person with a college degree, their median household net worth is $70,000. And it goes on and on and on. And if you look at the median household net worth by race and employment status, for full-time employment, a white person that's full-time employed can make $144,000. A black person that's unemployed, their median net worth $11,000. Person that's not even working, out of labor, not So it's somewhat, so we have so much statistics, and it's not like we just talk, like I said, talking out of our head. It's documented. Okay, now I'm just going to read one thing what Dr. King said, then I'm going to close. Okay. Dr. King, we know, of course, he was an ADOS, right? American Descendant of Slavery. He recognized that wealth was stolen from the American descendants of slavery. In one of his speeches, he stated, this is his word, at the very same time that America refused to give the Negro any land through an act of Congress, the government was giving away millions of acres of land in the West and Midwest, which meant that it was willing to undergird its white peasants from Europe with an economic floor. Not only did they give them land, they built land-grant colleges and government money to teach them how to farm. Not only that, they provided county agents to further their expertise in farming. Not only that, he said, they provided low interest rates in order that they could mechanize their farms. Not only that, today, he said, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps. In addition, this is what we are faced with, and this is a reality. Now, when we come to Washington in this campaign, we are coming to get our check. Dr. King, you better know.
Executive Director of the New Sanctuary Coalition, but I'm going to let him speak for himself because he is an excellent speaker and he has a lot to say to us.
Thank you. Brother Ruby, you realize I'm a member of the church? I got the memo, right? I was in Riverside Church one day, and I was listening to this person speak, and it hit me, or was it WBI? I was listening to someone speak, and she said, it was a professor, she said, you know, when someone is cut, you know how easy it is to cut yourself? Seconds, right? But how long does it take to heal? Weeks. So you just heard Minister Phyllis talk about 240 years of slavery. Forgetting the 99 years that she talked about Jim Crow. 46 years of slavery. How much time have we had to heal? Right?
Yes.
So you cannot heal, you have not had enough time to heal, but yet we are blaming ourselves for the position that we have been put in. Right? And it is they want to blame us, but the problem is we are blaming ourselves.
Right.
We see ourselves as a violent person that they are. Right? When we looked at the march across the bridge in Salem, and I went down to that Tennessee museum, and you looked at the violence of that sheriff and those people, and you look at the violence of the Ku Klux Klan, you look at the violence of the white supremacists, you look at the violence of this president, you look at the racism of this president, you look at the white nationalists of this president. Who is violent? Who is the danger? Who is the threat? It is not us. It is them. But when we internalize their problem, when we internalize the mental state that we are keeping up, that we are less than, we become easy to manipulate. We become easy it allows them to take what they want, and we will surrender to it. So what I want us to start thinking about is how we need to change, or we have to decolonize our mind. Right? Decolonize our mind. And decolonizing the mind is I could say it in one simple way. A white man is not smarter than me.
That's right. No.
Right? You know, I got this revelation, and I'm supposed to be talking about immigration, right? But you got me started, I'm sorry. I was in a meeting, and this priest, we were talking about organizing, and the person said, hey, you know, we should do this because even the white people like how it looks. And then the priest said, excuse me, you waiting for approval from the white person to tell you how good you are? It blew my mind. Right? It blew my mind. Because it means that I'm less than someone if I need their approval. And I'm not that. So in the three rules of New Sanctuary is no judgment. One of the first rules is no judgment. Because New Sanctuary believes no one should be deported. No one should be deported. Why do we say that? For two reasons. One, do you remember the first immigration law? 1883, where the law was created to remove a group of people. Not a person by action, but because of who they are. The Chinese Exclusionary Act. So it's racist. The first thing we know about the immigration law, and the only thing we need to know about the immigration law, is racist. And it has not changed. If they come into this room, who do you think they will be asking for status here? Not Carolina and Chelsea, but you and I. The color of the skin is going to be the one that identifies us as someone who does not belong here. We don't belong here because we are not of their color. So that's the first reason we believe we should not uphold this law. Why am I upholding a racist law? Do you want to uphold a racist law? Do you want to bring back the Fugitive Slave Act? Of course not, because it is racist. There's no way that we should be upholding this law because it was built, it was continued in a racist state. You know, in fact, when Hitler visited America, he saw the immigration policy. He saw it and he said, I have to use that. And that's what he did. There's a book called Hitler's America. Right? That's what he did. First he made them the other. Oh, they are different than us. We are Aryans, we are the supreme, we are, smarter than. First he made them the other. Then he tried to deport them. First he tried to deport them. And he couldn't deport all of them at the same time. Does that remind you where we are? Then he tried to detain them, and when they ran out of space, we know what happened. Right? More and more people are getting detained. In fact, they had started the first concentration camp for kids recently was in Toledo, Texas. So I do not ever go to the last stage because this is the moment we know this history is repeating itself. We are not going to allow it to go to the genocide that we expect that they wanted to go to. We are going to stand up against that. So we were able to shut down Toledo. They were planning to open Fort Sill where they had the internment camp for the Japanese. We shut that down. I don't mean me, I mean we shut it down. So we have to shut this down. And so when we talk about history, we need to start, we're seeing this happening. We're seeing the violence. So when you talk about the violence of our community, you're thinking about Latinos. Everyone thinks it's the Mexicans. Everyone thinks it's Central America. No. When he talked about S-hole countries, there are kids in the room, right? Right. Yeah. Normally I would say very clearly what it is. When he talked about the S-hole countries, he wasn't talking about Mexico only. What was he talking about? Africa, the Caribbean, Haiti. And he said, why are we allowing people of their color to come here when we need to have someone from Norway? Norway. So you don't have to assume that he is racist. He is. He says it. He says it. He's a nationalist. And I'm talking about people here of church, right? So I'm talking about church. What do you call him now? Remember Jesus calling him by name. You have to name it. Evil. He's evil. He's a demon. And what do we do in church? We cast them out. Right? You cast them out. So there's a line about calling names of people, because that's witchcraft, right? When you start to call names of people. But if he's a demon, it's not the same. I actually just figured that out myself. Because when you pray for you don't pray against someone. You cannot. That's a sin. What you do, but you can pray a demon out. Right? I'm not preaching, So New Sanctuary is a house is made up of people of faith. People of faith. Whether you're Jewish, you're Muslim, you're Christian, you're Hindu, it doesn't matter what your faith is. In fact, half of the people who volunteer with New Sanctuary, and we're talking about hundreds of people, they say they are people of no faith. Right? But I point out to them, they are walking in the faith that they can make a change. Right? So it's faith that is important. And the difference with New Sanctuary is we take our faith out of the four walls of the institution. Right. Because sanctuary is not only where it is a safe space in the building, which is what we know historically it is, so people can come in here and the government cannot come and take someone away. That is what we call sanctuary. But we are not just we are not just four walls, are we? Are we four walls? No. Of course not. We are walking in our faith. Wherever we walk should be sanctuary. Yeah. And that's the second reason why we believe we should not uphold this law. How many people were deported under the last administration? How many people? A lot. More than 3 million people. More than 3 million people. More than 3 million people means more than 3 million families have been destroyed. Isn't that the tenet of our scriptures? The family, the unit. And when you destroy families, what does that mean? It goes against our principles and our scriptures. So as people of faith, we need to stop this. See the other reason? It is legally wrong because it's racist, but more importantly, we answer to a higher authority. We answer to a higher authority. I'm watching them here, I'm not watching you guys here. But these are the church people, I'm sorry. Plus we are the same color, man. That's what I mean. So, when we and that's where our power comes from. Yes. Because we are witnessing to the higher authority that we walk in. That's when a part of the program of New Sanctuary is accompaniment, partnering U.S. citizens with non-citizens. We say it is a house, we are a network of faith institution, partnering citizens with non-citizens. Because we, as one of our main power, is the witnessing that we bring. We don't have to speak. In fact, we teach you not to speak. How many of you have done the accompaniment training? So one, we tell you you're doing the accompaniment wrong if you are speaking. So I have to teach church people to shut up. They know exactly what the problem is. But yet we want them, you need to advocate. You are not just there for your good looks, which we do have, right? But this is a Caribbean thing. We are there to advocate and to stop a racist policy. So you have to know how to do that. But a lot of it comes from the house, from our witnessing. Very, very powerful too. Witnessing. You know, I've been given the analogy of a candle. You light a candle in darkness, and the light spreads, right? It dissipates the darkness. But is it doing anything? Of course not. It is just standing still. So if we are the light, we don't need to say anything. We just have to be. That's why we call us human beings. We just have to be and walk in the being of who we represent. And that's another rule of New Sanctuary. So I say no judgment. And because we believe no one should be deported, because no matter what country they're from, right? Whether it's a soul country or not, we're going to own it, right? Whatever language you speak, whatever your religion, whatever your culture. You know, one of the things that I found out is and whatever your history. When I say history, what do I mean by history? People with criminal conviction. We all have a problem with mass incarceration, but yet when someone is going to be deported, or we ourselves, we're not going to say, oh, well, deport the bad guy. Deport the bad guy, right? But yet we say we have a problem with mass incarceration, and the fact that it is so targeted against our community, and not only if we ourselves become having this dialogue about good and bad. We don't even, we say we're against violence, but then we don't even support those people who are coming out of jail, who are coming out of mass, or coming out of prison. We are part of the problem. I mean, I'm part of this. Right? I am not white. I don't want to be the next white race, which is what the Irish and the Italians had to be. I am not going to be that. The Chinese want to be the new next white race. The Indians want to be the next white race. I am telling you, I have to decolonize my mind. And say, I am as good as, which brings up the second, that the first rule is no judgment, so no matter what your history is, but the second rule is respect.
Yes.
Respect is a very active role. No judgment is passive. I don't have to judge you, but I don't have to associate with you, but if I have to respect you, it means I have to be as equal, you have to be as equal as I am. Right? So the second rule is respect. And the third rule is do no harm, obviously. So everything we do, or every action that we take, is about consequences. What am I doing that is going to, what impact am I going to have, whether it's good or bad? So we're always mindful of every step we take. We're talking about how bad it is at the border. How bad it is at the border. We don't talk about the child separation, ripping children from their families. What is that? It's evil, right? Yes. Pure evil. You're ripping apart a child from his parent. Does that bring back memories?
Yes.
And even now, they'll still know.
Correct. Mass incarceration, targeting our communities, and then taking away our young men, taking away our fathers. Now they're taking away our mothers, right?
Yes.
They're taking away both mothers and fathers because private prisons need to make their profit.
That's right.
And you're moving the children away from their familial unit, or their caring unit, and you are separating them. And now what has happened is you have a public crisis, a public health crisis of people with damaged psyche.
Yeah.
And when you are damaged, like we said, when you are harmed, like you are harmed by slavery, the healing is generation, so it's intentional. And what we have to start doing is coming together. So this is not just about the border, but we have 12 million people undocumented in the region, in the state. We have over 500,000 in New York City who are terrified. When they took away TPS, when they were saying they were going to take away TPS, temporary protective status, for the Liberians and the Salvadorians and the Nepalese and the Haitians. You know what the Haitians did? When they heard that they were going to lose their TPS, temporary protected status, which meant that they were going to be undocumented, but remember their names are already on the database. They are low-hanging fruit for this administration. This administration is violent, we know that. You know what the Haitians did? They ran away to Canada. Exactly. They were so terrified because in itself, Haiti is a country, Haiti is a target country. They want to suppress Haiti because
they fought against slavery.
Correct. The first revolution started in Haiti. With Toussaint Louverture and I can never remember his name. But it started there. Right? So they always want to, and this includes France. France targets Haiti. Haiti is a country that is hated. So, but I want us to, I agree that we are all, it is not just about immigration. It's not just about immigrants. Because if you have a white nationalist president, as I said, his mandate is ethnic cleanse. remove all people of color. But if he removes all people of color or immigrants, what do you think happens next? You're next. Exactly. Remember, he has a hatred against immigrants. He has a hatred against black people. He has a hatred against LGBT. He has a hatred against women. There's also a class issue if you don't have a certain amount of money. So if we think we are not, or we are not under his radar, we don't have to worry, we are safe. If you think we are safe, we are lying. Right? We are all under threat. I wanted to mention climate, because I organized for the People's Climate March. My first organizing when I was a high school student was about climate. We planted the forest. I've always been part of it. The thing about immigration though, so all of us are affected by climate change. If there is no earth, I don't care what color you are, you're going to die. Right? You're going to die. So the first thing we should always be looking at is our planet, our world. This is our earth. We have to take care of it. But the indigenous people have been taking care of the land. Our farmers have been taking care of the land. We have been taking care of the land. But then our land has been taken away from us. There's a huge land grab in Central America. That's why you have people coming up. Corporations are taking away their land. The indigenous Garifunas are afraid and they're terrified and they have been leaving because they have no other choice. But I wanted to point out that when you talk about climate change, you're talking about in the future. I don't have a future. I don't know if I'm going to die tomorrow. As an immigrant, when I'm coming from the border, I don't know if I'm going to die tomorrow, so I don't have a perception that the earth is there for me. I want us to keep that in mind, because we would like to have the immigrant community participate in this. But the immigrant community is worried about being facing an ICE office, a raid, an ICE raid, and I'm afraid that I will be sent back to a place where I'm going to die tomorrow. You know my own story. How many of you know my story?
No, I
Okay, I'm going to try to keep it short. It's a long story. I have been fighting my own deportation since 2006. I spent 2 years in immigration detention. And the reason why, I'm going to be full disclosure, it's very public. My whole story is public. I had a green card and I lost the green card because of a criminal conviction. I spent years in federal prison. So I'm a really bad guy, right? You can see that. I said I was bad, exactly. You have to believe it. Come on. Well, I'm really bad because I'm an organizer by nature and they hate organizers. So they hate me. So in fact, because of what I say, because of the way I speak, because of what I'm speaking in the community, ICE actually tracks my movement. And this is not assumption. They track my movement. They said that they actually know what when I had to check in last year in 2018, we had people going to speak to my lawyers and people going to speak to the director of ICE to say, well, what is going on? They quoted verbatim some of the speeches I made. Like this will go up, they will look at this and they will repeat word for word what I said. He actually said that he knows where I live. This is the director, right? He knows where I live. He knows the hat I wear. He knows how I bebop down the street. I have no idea what a bebop is, but I do it well. So I have to, I will brand that, a bebop. Last year in 2011, when I had to check in, they took me away. Shackled me and took me away. This is the time when Jumani and Idanis got arrested. They were saving someone from being deported. That's me. I'm the guy. Remember that made all that news? Right? It was because of me. And the reason why they wanted to take me away, and they said this, they were planning my deportation and they war game my deportation. This is their own words they've submitted to the court. They war game my deportation. They're not at war with me, they could take me away. They're at war with you because you were supporting me. Right? And the reason why they wanted to have so much publicity for this event is because they wanted to show people, they wanted to show the immigrant communities, right, that we are going to take Ravi away, even with all those hundreds of people who are with you. Right? And then you will say to yourself, who are other immigrants, that if Ravi could get deported, who am I? What can I do? What is there for me? They will give up. It's called psychological warfare. It's warfare, right? And it's about discouraging people. And that's what they were trying to do. As you know, I have not been deported. I don't know if you guess that. So I'm here, and I'm here because of Jumani and Idanis and many people who supported me. I'm gonna need to wrap up because I need to give Bill a chance to speak. As you know, I can talk for a long time. Just like Minister Phyllis, I need to wrap it up. But I want to wrap it up on two things. Before I wrap it up, actually, I wanted to point out that we need to work together. We need to work together, whether it's reparation, whether it's climate, whether it's housing, whether it's mass incarceration. And when we think we are not, that immigration is not our issue because we talk about reparation. You know, we look only recently, a few years ago, about the Voting Rights Act that that have been passed in the southern states. You know how they introduced those bills? Do you know how they introduced those bills that were going to restrict our voting access? They said they're going to stop immigrants from voting. Yes, you remember that, right? Oh, we have to stop the undocumented from voting. And no matter how much time we talked, and I actually blame the NAACP and all our leaders, hey, this is not about us, we don't vote. They don't even, we cannot vote. We are living under a day-to-day crisis. So it is not about us voting. It is not about, so it's about you restricting your access. Right? So what we do is, what they're doing, how many of you know that in next year or 2021, that if you don't have a special driver's license, November 2020. Right. You will not be able to travel. You know what that is?
Yeah.
That is registration.
Yes.
What even is registration? Remember when Jesus had to go and, right? Is it?
Yeah.
Well, it's the numbers, right? The numbers in Revelation. Right? So I'm just pointing out, this is why we have to start talking to each other and actually having to understand what the different pieces are, and that it is not just about this, but it's about all of us who are in this.
Yes.
So I will end in the words of Dr. Martin Luther King. Right? It is not the violence of my enemies I remember, but the silence of my friends.
Yes.
So we have to start stepping up.
Yes.
And we may not have to say anything, but in the word, but it's a process of easy. It's words, preach every day, and sometimes use words. So it's more about what we do and what we say. Thank you.
All right.
I told you the madman had something to say. Chelsea and Bill are going to talk about environmental justice. I'm going to let them decide who wants to, they're both going to speak a little bit, and I'm going to let them decide how they want to do this.
I'll go first then, Chelsea. I got the worst end of the deal, soon after Robbie. How unlucky can I be? So, I'm gonna kind of do a quick rehash of what we just heard. People brought here, enslaved, their labor stolen for hundreds of years. The people who decided to do that had come here and taken that land from the Native Americans who were here before them. They came here from Europe. They were religious people. They said, let's build a city on a hill and show the world how to live. And then they created the world capital of slavery. That created massive wealth. The South had more millionaires than the rest of the world combined at the height of slavery. These people figured out how to steal and exploit and create massive wealth. In 1856, 10 years before the end of slavery, a scientist was studying gases. There's a female scientist in the United States. And she found that when you shine light on a bottle full of carbon dioxide, which is what comes off of something that you burn, like coal or oil or wood, when you shine a light on that bottle heats up way more than if you shine a light on a bottle that's full of normal air. That concept was the very beginning of what we knew of what happens when you burn stuff. It creates heat that gets trapped. And it's not just the heat that comes out of what you burn. The air itself changes and it stays hotter. When light shines in, it turns into heat and stays. It gets trapped. It's called the greenhouse effect. That was discovered right around the end of slavery. Slavery ends. The society goes through crazy restructuring, trying to figure out how to keep people separated anyways, post-slavery. And then finally oil is discovered in this country. Now people knew about oil for a long time, but they started to realize that you can use this stuff to get free labor. You can take this stuff that when you burn it, you get energy, and you can use that energy to create work. And industrialization was about creating work off of all this energy that just came out of the ground for free. But it didn't come out for free for us. It came out of the ground for free for Rockefeller and these super giant people that figured out how to take it and keep it and control it. And as the rest of the world discovered oil, this country had to build the biggest military on the planet. It's still the biggest military on the planet, so we could control all the oil in the world, which is labor. It's labor that we're stealing because we shouldn't be burning it. When you burn it, it heats up the atmosphere and it cooks us. We're in a gas chamber. We're all trapped under the same atmosphere. And the people who are burning that oil today know that in the future they're going to have to deal with that. They're stealing the labor, but they're stealing the labor of the future. My kids are going to have to live in a world that can't burn oil. But beyond that, they have to live in a world where they're going to make up for the problems that we're causing today. We just had a hurricane destroy a whole country. That hurricane was not normal. It was way bigger than any other hurricane. And it moved way slower and had way more water in it than it should have. And it sat there on the Bahamas, grinding away until the whole country was covered in water. Those people were killed because of oil. We don't see it like that. We think it's the weather. It's not the weather. This is a debt that was created by the people who decided to take that oil out of the ground 100 years ago, and for the past 100 years use it to create an economy to make them rich. We're paying the price. We're paying the price of slavery. We're paying the price of fossil fuel burning. And we're not the beneficiaries of it. Our society is paying the price. And right now, the chickens, all of the chickens are coming home to roost at the same time. Because what we're seeing is, we've got a society that's divided politically. White people against black in this country. And that division is necessary to maintain the inequality that was created by slavery. That also keeps us from coming together to deal with other problems. Immigration right now, why is it coming to the fore? Why is everyone talking about it all of a sudden? It's been an issue for forever, but why now? Why is Trump using that? Why does he need that? Why does our society need that? And it's not just Trump, it's the whole planet right now. Europe is going through a crazy transformation because of what they consider to be an immigration crisis. Brexit is an immigration issue. That's how they got these people in the UK fired up. They convinced them that hordes of dark-skinned people were going to come to their country. Why is immigration being used right now? Because here's what's happening. The climate is heating up. We're seeing drought now. Syria, which has seen millions of people leave, is going through crazy drought, unlike any drought known in history. We're seeing desertification all around the equator. People are leaving their farms in Central America, not just because corporations are taking over, but because those farms are, in many places, dying. People are moving, because when the climate changes, when things move around, when temperatures change the ability to grow food, we get food from somewhere else. But the people who live in those places have to move, and they often do move. And now we're seeing massive migration on a global scale, but just the beginning of it. People know that it's going to get worse. So in Europe, when they say, let's build a wall to keep more of these people from the Middle East coming in, and people coming up from Africa into Europe, they're building a wall because they know more and more people are going to have to come. They say that in the next 10 years, we're going to see crop failures that are going to affect multiple countries at the same time as a result of climate change. It's already happening here and there. In the Midwest this year, the crops are a disaster, but we don't see it because we're part of a global food system. So we're going to still get our bread and our potatoes. It's still going to come. We're just going to get them from somewhere else. But the globe is not too big to fail. We've created a problem where crop failure is going to happen in multiple places at once. That means that there's going to be mass starvation and war over food and war over water. That's going to happen. We were born in the generation that has to pay back this price. That was stolen from us by people in the past who knew it was the case. They'd known about this since 1856. They weren't talking about it. The scientists of Exxon predicted exactly where we would be today 50 years ago. They knew it. I had an uncle who was working in the White House for President Eisenhower, and he did a study of air. And the main pillar of that study was, we're screwed if we don't do something about carbon emissions. In 1965, that study came out. The government has known about this. Scientists at oil companies have known about this. They've decided to just make it this bad anyways. And just figured we would steal the labor of the future. All of us have to pay back this price. Now, the immigration crisis globally is really a refugee crisis, as in people moving around. And if we don't have a way of dealing with movement, we're going to force genocide in more ways than just the removal of people in this country. We're going to force genocide. The border today, the southern border especially, is designed to be a gauntlet to kill people. That's what it's designed. When you go in the desert, you put a bottle of water down, you get arrested for that because it might save someone's life. It's got to be deadly. They want it to be deadly. Right? They want people to die coming in. They want to scare anyone helping immigrants. That is necessary because there's going to be way more people coming up that border, and they want those people dead. They don't want them coming in. If we don't keep the temperature of this planet within about a quarter of a degree of where it is today, we're going to see desertification of the bulk of Africa. That is going to start happening in the next 10 years. Africa's population is 1 billion people. That's the people that are going to die if borders aren't opened and if we don't stop carbon emissions immediately. We live in a world that is today saying that's okay. Carbon emissions is okay. We're going to keep burning fossil fuels. That's okay. And if 1 billion people in Africa don't have a livable place to be, that's okay. That's what the world is saying right now. That's the world that I was born into. And I asked myself, why? Why our generation? Why does it have to be us? Why did I have to have kids that ask me, Dad, what happens if we don't win this? They're wondering, why is my dad dragging me to this place and making me sit here and hear this stuff? If we don't win this, it's bad news. It's really bad news. But there's something else to it. And it's something really beautiful. It's that you guys are here right now. And we're talking about reparations. We're talking about fixing these things. And we're talking about it with amazing people who have done amazing things to change the world already. We've got Ravi here, one of the most inspirational people I've ever heard. Who's just changing the way we think about what is the immigration thing about. It's beautiful. And we're all sitting here in the same place at the same time because they're so tightly interrelated. People divided against each other to make it possible for people to steal each other's labor and to screw the future and the present and to treat people the way we treat immigrants in this country and around the world and to just write them off and to be part of genocide. We are all part of it. Who here has a job? Most people have. If you have a job, you're part of it. We're all popping this thing up. But Ravi is in open rebellion. He's in open rebellion. Ravi works with a lot of people in open rebellion against the system. I am in open rebellion because the only rational response to this system that's created this And that doesn't seem to me that it's about to do reparations. It's not about to. There's not even enough people supporting it yet.
Well, we're working on it, so it's gonna happen.
It has to happen.
That's right.
We need to get out of this. We created the conditions for our own division. We built this.
Yes.
And we have to get out together. And that getting out together is the thing that gives me hope.
Yes.
What I'm sad about is a world that didn't actually exist. Right? I'm sad about a world that I was hoping my kids could inherit, that was a place where you could get along, people love each other, and they could grow and have worthwhile lives. But that world doesn't exist today. And we're going to make it. In this crisis is going to force us to address reparations. It's going to force us to address the refugee crisis and the immigration crisis. It's forcing us to all be together. And this is a really special moment. And I'm just so glad that you guys are here with us, asking me to come here to talk about climate change. It's a special moment. I don't know if that's ever happened where ADOS, the Sanctuary, and Extinction Rebellion has ever been to the same place and asked to speak in the same place. This is an unusual, very unusual church. The world needs more of this than anything else.
Yes.
The world needs more of this than anything else. I'm going to hand things over to Chelsea. She's going to wrap this up, and maybe there'll be time for discussion and straight depends on this. All right, thanks everyone.
Gosh, I feel like I don't know what I'm doing up here, and just so humbled to be here. Not only here today, and after hearing Reverend Ruby, who had to leave, and so many amazing speakers today. But I'm here in this moment, and I'm part of Extinction Rebellion because of stories that I heard my whole life about Dr. King, and because of stories I heard about Gandhi, and feeling called to this moment. Like for me, being a climate activist with Extinction Rebellion is part of my spiritual path. I'm here at this time on this planet because I'm called to do something, and we're all called to do something right here, right now. And I'm here because of my experience at Standing Rock, where we were, in a prayer camp with these indigenous leaders, with the Lakota Sioux, and they weren't just saying like, oh, we're here to stop a pipeline. They were creating a community where people were taking care of each other, and where it was people of all colors. It was families. It was retirees. It was the like activist hippies that you hear about. All coming together to take care of each other. Like I went to this camp and we were building structures to keep people safe through the winter time, and organizing food and organizing clothing. And so that's what I think of when I think of justice. Like I don't think, oh, it's some utopia in the future. It's something that we have to do right here, right now. Justice is righting of a wrong, but if we're building a world where we're actually taking care of each other, then we don't need justice. If we have a world where we're actually, where we see each other as equals, where we're showing respect to one another, where we're feeding each other and we're housing each other, then we don't need, housing campaigns, and we don't need food kitchens, and we don't need all these things to like right those wrongs. We're building that from the ground up. And that's why I'm part of Extinction Rebellion, because we talk about regenerative culture, and that's what that means. It's not just this like, okay, well, once we get all the climate policies passed that we need, then we'll be okay. Then we'll have the beloved community. It's what's happening right here, right now, and it's how are we taking care of each other as a movement? How is it part of our personal transformation? Ruby was talking about that today, the inner and outer transformation. Those two things cannot be separate. And so I think that Extinction Rebellion is this is a movement that's actually talking about that, and actually talking about the personal transformation and the communal transformation as we have planetary and societal transformation. And it's talking talking about, our fourth demand is actually demanding a just transition that centers communities of color and poor communities, because that is the environmental justice. It's not just saving the polar bears and the ecosystems that we're all dependent on. You know, it's looking at the interconnectedness of all of us on this planet. And so, yeah, I'm losing my train of thought, but that's why I'm excited to be here. Oh, this is my other thing. I was so inspired by Deacon Jane and what Deacon Jane was saying today about environmentalists. You know, we don't hear these stories of Black environmentalists, right? And I think of who's telling the story.
Right.
And that we need to change the story. And we need, changing the story would be for all of us to come together instead of, you know, Black folks over here and white folks over here, you know, and all of the division that we see. It's about coming together and knowing that our struggle is one and the same. That your struggle is my struggle and my struggle is your struggle. Our liberation is tied together, and we're all in this together. And so part of Extinction Rebellion is telling the truth. And so I think it's us to rise up and say, we're telling the story now. And we're telling the government and the media what that story is. And that's why there are targets. Where we're like, we're telling the story now. So can we all be part of this new story where we're actually hand in hand together?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just want to thank you all for having us here. And another thing about Extinction Rebellion, you know, we're a direct action climate movement. And so you do see a lot of us getting arrested and risking arrest on purpose, but the movement is much bigger than that. No, you know, you don't have to risk arrest to be part of this movement. Right now I'm looking at Jan, who's our jail support person, and I don't think, Jan, have you been arrested with us?
I've never been arrested.
Never been
I've been at every action.
You've been at every
Never
action.
arrested, so you don't have to be.
Right.
Jan, I was thinking of like the church mothers, like you're like the XR mother, you know, making sure that we're fed when we come out of jail and we're hungry, and we're thirsty, and we're cold, and we need people to take care of us. And that's so much of what Extinction Rebellion is about, is how we're taking care of each other. And I think there's something like, I don't know, 10 people for every person getting arrested. So you can all be part of it. We need you. We need more of this. We need more of this, like, hand in hand together to show that New York is full of so many types of people, and that we're all in this together, and we can just keep on learning from each other, just like I'm learning from all of you today. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
At your place setting, there's a little piece of paper, and it has the websites for Extinction Rebellion, New York City, New Sanctuary Coalition, and ADOS. I just want to invite all of our speakers to come up here and to just for a moment talk about the concrete ways that people can be involved. Robbie can tell you about the accompaniments and the Jericho walk. These guys can tell you a little bit about what happens when you get on this website and how easy it is to sit in on a Zoom conference and hear a talk, etc. Right? Phyllis, you're going to tell us.
Okay. For those of you, do I have anybody here that live on Staten Island? No.
Maybe we break some.
Okay. Even if you don't live on Staten Island, if you live in New York City, what I'm getting ready to do is to get a group of people that can help me get out the word as far as reparation is concerned. But our foundation, of course, is still ADOS 101. So what I'm going to do, because they already have a New York ADOS 101 that's operating, but they encourage us to start our own group of people to help us get the word out. We do it different ways. So if you're interested in working with me with the reparation movement, you can give me a call.
As I mentioned earlier, we do the partnering U.S. citizens with non-citizens. That is the accompaniment program. You can go on the website, you can look it up. There's a training we have, we take you through. We also have a pro se clinic with people who don't have attorneys. There's all of these immigrants, non-citizens. We don't actually use the word immigrants, we use the word friends. All of our friends who are facing deportation, they don't have lawyers. We will help them with the application. You can come and volunteer. You don't have to speak anything. You just have to be able to read, hear, and breathe. Right? And then we have other aspects of those programs that you can participate in. The city, Congress people, consulates, the lawyers all refer people to us because there's a crisis right now and we have become the de facto place to send someone for help. The other thing is, how many of you know about Jericho? You heard about Jericho in the Bible? Yeah, right. So we do a Jericho walk around Federal Plaza, which represents the wall of injustice that surrounds us. We do it 7 times. We do it every week. We've been doing it for a few years now. We blow the shofars. Well, I blow the shofar. 7 times in silence around Federal Plaza, Thursdays at 11 o'clock. Does that make a difference? It's not symbolic. I'm telling you now it's not symbolic. It's part of our prayer walk. It's part of our faith walk. I believe, I'm talking to you guys here, right? Again, it is because of that faith that we are holding this evil back. Right? But just to also show you how the power of the Jericho walk is, Federal building, how many of you know that big building?
Yes.
That building is sinking. All our construction because of sinking.
Keep on walking, right?
Yeah, go for it.
Alright. Extinction Rebellion is a movement that anybody can participate in however they want. Typically, our key activities are growing by having meetings like this one, where we talk about the fact that climate change is real and is going to kill a lot of people soon and is already killing people today, and buildings are sinking.
Don't take my question.
The urgency is that if we don't stop fossil fuels now, that we're just going to be paying the worst debt. Whole civilizations are going to die. The world is not getting better at accepting, other people right now. And it's also a movement that can bring more people into the question of reparations. One of the demands of Extinction Rebellion is reparations. We don't want to save a world that has all the splits that created this world in the first place. So we are looking at reparations. We're looking at a society that's regenerative. And most of the things that are keeping people apart today simply can't be in place if we create a society that's also not emitting carbon. So that's the change we're looking for. It's a change that's so big that our current government, our current political system itself is not capable of handling. That's why we call it a rebellion. It's a crazy thing, but to rebel just means joining up, telling people the truth, acting like it's real. Meetings like this, if you are able to help form new meetings like this, or if you want to come trained on how to put on a meeting like this, that's a key activity. Another activity is that we participate in disruption of the system as it is today. Which means a lot of the time people get arrested, but that's not a critical ingredient of disruption. Disruption is just stopping things up so that we have to get listened to and make a lot of noise. We're growing really fast because it turns out it's a really good tactic for getting the word out. And I recommend disruption to all of us. It's working. And as people come into this movement and they're coming really fast, they're feeding into the other movements that are adjacent and totally interrelated to what we're working on.
I want to add something to what Bill is saying. You can check this out yourself. Sorry to interrupt, man. But every single 9 billion people in the world that exist right now can fit in the state of Texas with 1,000 square feet. And you can do the calculation. I did it myself. So if all of us can live in the state of Texas, the rest of the world is a breadbasket. Which means it's not about a population problem, but a resource problem. Because someone wants to take it all. And that's why we have this inequality. So we have to look at equality as part of all our justice movement. And when people talk about population in Africa, stop that. We need to be open that we all can live together. I'm sorry.
That's beautiful, yes. So, yeah, just get involved. We have a website you can join up in. I'm guessing that Lisa will help encourage more activities within this church. And a church that takes on rebellion as an activity is a church that will have an outside voice in the history of civilization. That's the invitation.
No, I don't think I have much to add except just there's this community piece. So create your community, an affinity group. Extinction Rebellion is so much about community. We actually have a community meeting at Judson Memorial Church once a month that you can come to. I think the next one is on the 20th. We also do things like this Wednesday we have something called Extinction Resilience, and it's coming together around how do we deal with these feelings of grief and despair about all that's happening in the world, and how do we have community in that, and how do we sustain ourselves and have resilient communities in that. So we have lots of offerings that you can check out either on Facebook or on our website. So, thank you.
Stay here for 1 minute in case anyone has any questions
Yes.
before we.
I have a question. Regarding the upcoming census 2020, what are your thoughts about that process? I think a lot of people, when I worked the census in 2010, they were apprehensive then. And I'm afraid that being that everything has gone on, now that it will be difficult, a situation to know.
Medgar College has a team of people that has a lot of good explanation about why it is important to have the census, but we know that the citizenship question, why it was added there is to scare people from answering the census, right? Because the community itself, the immigrant community itself will not want to answer it. They knew it was going to be taken away. When the immigrant communities does not answer that question, we lose 2 congressional seats. Right? You get 4 congressional seats in Florida that will gain because of this, which means that you're stripping the power of New York to be the stalwart and the protection against these harsh policies. But the other thing is that's on a congressional level. But you're looking at the lack of resources the resources that we've taken away, schooling, other roads and all of those things, because they will only allocate a certain amount of money based upon the the residency of that community. So it is very important that you participate. There's a call for census help, right? They're hiring people, so we should all do that. We should all help them. This church should become a space to help people answer those questions safely. And the other thing about we should be mindful that we should encourage all our immigrant community to answer the question, but also be mindful that if they target our community, we should respond. Right? It is not just about answering, but now that occupant is going to use it and he may target that. We have to stop.
Because the country is so divided, and because each one of you is so mingled in what the message is. We know that Fox 5 is only hitting the conservatives. We have, MSNBC hitting people like us. Have we thought of a way to get our message, this message, to Americans, not Republicans or Democrats or independents, to Americans, because the media is not helping us. Have we given any thought to using podcasts or some way to hit just a regular guy to let him know we're dying and this is not necessary. We need reparation, and this is something that would help us all. Is there a way to get all of this into one centered media that we as a people could say, oh, wait a minute, that's what I'd like to see. Is that a possibility? Is that been thought of?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you from the Extinction Rebellion standpoint, first of all, that's why we're in the streets. Because the stories that we need to be told aren't being told, and so that's why we're getting out there and disrupting things so that people pay attention. But also, part of our organizing is there's this statistic that social scientists have found that only 3.5% of the population needs to be behind and giving direct support to a cause in order for the success of the campaign. Yeah, so it kind of helps us as activists and organizers, whatever our issue is, that we don't have to burn ourselves out trying to reach every single person in the country. It's more about finding those people who are already primed for these messages. And it's only 3.5% of the population that we need, which granted in New York City is like, I don't know, hundreds of thousands of people or something. So we still have our work cut out for us. But I think it's in finding alternative sources of getting the word out there rather than trying to get Fox News or someone who, probably won't listen to us in the first place. Yeah.
The APOS movement, they've been very successful. We've been very successful using social media, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. So the founders of APOS, they have a YouTube, they come on twice a week. One of them, Antonio Carnell, and Antonio Moore, he comes on once a week. This is to keep us abreast of what's going on. Plus, we tweet to our Congress people, and we, reach out to them, call them. So we do different things to get to the message across as far as the support that HR 40 bill is also.
The MSNBC is as bad as Fox because they will still bring on the Giuliani's or Conway. They bring on liars to speak. Why? Right? And so it vindicates their messaging. So they are not supporting us. Be real. It's not about supporting us. So how do we change that? Well, change is actually relationship building. So if you heard what you heard here, if you take it to a friend and you talk about that, you talk about the fact that you deserve reparation, right, to someone else, and your friend who may be black but saying that you have to actually take this cause up because it is important for your well-being and your children's well-being. Relationship, when we talk about relationship between citizens and non-citizens, they stop seeing us as the other. When we start, so the relationship that we have is how we are going to move this forward. Whether, not just in New York City, I am sure you know people in California or wherever, right? So that is what we're talking about when we say relationship. Because social media, yes, we need to use those things, but my strategy is do not wait on the electors to save us. We save ourselves, right? And and when we have a relationship and a bond, is how we're going to save ourselves and save the planet.
The Extinction Rebellion itself has been targeting the media. And one of the inspirations for that was about a year ago. There's this guy who was really passionate about the environment. This is before Extinction Rebellion was founded. We're a really new organization. He thought the world is going to end if we don't stop using carbon, so he did everything he could do. He started this compost facility in Red Hook that is a hand-tilled compost. They don't use machines that are oil gas powered to create this big compost system, and there's tons of volunteers that do this. It's one of the best compost facilities in the world. It's based in Red Hook. But he still felt like nobody was talking about it. How do you get people to take action? And he knew that one little compost facility wasn't going to make a difference. He got more and more and more depressed. And one day, this was I think it was in April 2018, he got a can of gasoline. He wrote a letter to each of the media publications. Why are you talking about climate change? Here's what's really going on. This is a freaking emergency. Nothing else you're writing about matters as much as this. He wrote that letter, sent it to all the newspapers. He went into Prospect Park. He poured gasoline all over himself. And he put a copy of the letter right on the ground right next to him. And he lit a match. And he said, he was thinking in his head, this is going to get them to write about climate change. It didn't. It didn't. They didn't write about it. They just wrote about a person who burned himself up in the park. And they said he had his reasons, and they related to climate change. They mentioned it, but they didn't go on and say, oh, by the way, society is coming to an apocalypse that's self-created and we all have to treat it like an emergency or we're just going to sleepwalk into oblivion. They didn't say that. They didn't hear it at all. A year later, we did a funeral, memorial for him in the same spot. We had 100 plus people. We talked about animals that were going extinct by the bucket. We talked about him. We talked about the climate. There was a reporter there from the UK. There were people writing about this in Europe and Australia. They did a 50-inch article about that memorial in London. Whole page about that happening. It wasn't a peep in the US. After that happened, we decided we need to go after the media. We're not going to go after the Foxes or even MSNBC. We're going to go after the New York Times. The New York Times has the biggest climate desk in the country. Dozens of people working on climate. But they don't have headlines that say, crisis, we're screwed, this is huge. They don't. And when they talk about it, they talk about it like a debate. Like, oh, these guys said this, but then these guys said that. Oh, these guys say this, but maybe it's like that. Or maybe they shouldn't do it this way. Maybe they should do it that way. Maybe people should get recyclable toothbrushes. That'll help. That's the kind of stuff they say. This is the best. The media is so screwed up, so bought, and in the pocket of the companies that profit off the stuff. It's game over for the media. We have to do it ourselves. We have to be in the streets. And if no one is going to come in and save us from the media, it's just people like us that are going to do it.